Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, Missouri Southern's international mission provides opportunities for students to study and learn abroad. Today we're focusing on a recent trip in the spring of 2014 to Paris. And joining me to begin the program, Kristen Livingston, faculty member in the Department of Communication. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And this is an annual program where students from the department, from the campus, go to Paris. And maybe we can start off with a little bit of background. When we talk about a trip to Paris, what is involved with this?
A trip to Paris. Well, I guess from a historical foundation, it was started by a gentleman named Lee Hubner, and it was from Northwestern University in 1996, and it gained some ground and got the eyes and the ears of one of our staff members, one of our faculty members, Dr. Chad Stebbins, and he kind of thought this was a cool idea, an experience for students to go abroad, engage in a classroom experience, and also take in all the sights and the culture that Paris has to offer. So in the year 2000, he actually started up the International Media Seminar Program here at Missouri Southern, and it will be in our 15th year, I believe. So we're going, towards that anniversary date. Great.
So students from Missouri Southern then are able to travel to Paris and participate in a media seminar. Describe to me what this means, a media seminar.
A media seminar. They're basically set up in classroom style at the American University of Paris. So it's really located in the heart of Paris, which is nice. So as we walk from our hotel to the university, you get to take in a lot of the culture, which is a learning experience in and of itself. But the seminar is comprised of a series of individuals that come in and speak on behalf of like CNN, People Magazine, Vogue, a lot of the area media channels, radio stations, things to really engage the students in what it's like to work internationally within their job realm or their future job realm.
So the students who participate, they don't necessarily have to be just broadcast or print. They can be from the variety of communication backgrounds.
Oh, absolutely. Anything. Even, PR. There were some guest speakers that discussed really the fashion elements because, Paris is the fashion capital of the world. And so there are some documentarians that brought in snippets of their documentaries of what they have done, which inspired quite a few of our students. So,
of course, this is a trip where you go abroad to Paris. I imagine there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes and even on campus before you hop on that plane and go. Tell me a little bit about the class structure for the students.
Yes, the class, we actually start out meeting once a week, every Fridays at 2 o'clock, and we basically establish the grounds for expectations. What are some of the things to expect when you go overseas for the first time? Some of the cultural barriers, some of the things that you should or you should not do. So we want to establish those right off the bat. And then we start talking about the classroom experience, what to expect in the classroom, what type of speakers to look forward to, maybe do a little homework, so you have some questions prepared for them. And then basically part of the classroom experience is the construction of a blog. That was suggested to be weekly, but dependence upon, especially when you're in Paris, how good the internet is, how access you are. It can be quite the hurdle, but the blog is part of their grade in the class. And so that is something that we talk about, we discuss along with the other preparatory work.
And of course, people are thinking Paris, that's France. What about the language barrier? How do you work with that?
Oh my gosh, really interesting. I have a short little story. My first experience stepping off the plane and actually getting into the taxi, you're always informed to be very, very polite to the local Parisians. Start out, say something in French, whether it be like a bonjour, and then start, a conversation, and then you can ask them if they speak English, and then segue the conversation. I said bonjour. Getting into this cab, there's two other women waiting for me, and they both go, hola. Oh my gosh, I was not anticipating that, but it is a language that I knew, so I started, conversing with them in the back seat of this taxi in Paris in a completely different language, which I thought was just so unique, but that is definitely one of the things that you don't expect. As far as the culture and the language is concerned, you really get along well. You have a lot of people that speak English. You have a lot of individuals that are used to the tourism aspect. So, you don't run into a lot of those barriers that you would think you would.
Right, get lost in another culture and not understand things. Well, from a faculty perspective, you're working from the perspective of the students, seeing them learn. Tell me from that perspective of the benefits from somebody seeing students learn on an experience like this.
I loved it because, as they were learning, I was learning things about my students and about, what really drove drove them, especially in the field of communication, but you know, seeing their eyes open up. I mean, walking through Paris is like walking through a giant museum. I mean, you have so much culture there, you have so much history, and then a lot of my students like to engage in a lot of the locals and to see, you know, what their lives were like on a day-to-day basis. So even though this was a media seminar and we had the classroom experience, a lot of the learning took place outside of the classroom, and that's what really, for lack of a better phrase, tickled me pink, because I mean, culture is huge. That's where you get to learn more than anything about how to interact and effectively communicate with other people.
Are you finding this is helping you in the classroom then when you come back and teach those courses that tie in with culture?
Absolutely. The extent of my travels has just been to Mexico, and so to truly you know, go abroad and engage in another culture and take back those experiences and those memories. I think that, you know, the next time that I teach an intercultural communication class, I'll be much more insightful.
You'll have that sharing of stories and experiences with the students. And if someone were to ask you, as far as Missouri Southern's benefit from an educational perspective, having these types of trips, even short trips that last, you know, 10 days or a week or so, what would you say to that member of the community? Why is it good for Missouri Southern to have these?
It's good for, you know, exposure of culture. Also, our students get great resume building opportunities. I mean, many students, you know, struggle. They want to go abroad, and this is a great way to do it in just a short span. Networking. You know, a lot of the students pick up cards from some of these individuals that are guest speakers, and so you can explore, you know, I don't have to have a job here in the United States necessarily. I can go work overseas and you know, again, engage yourself into that culture and that learning opportunity. So anybody that wants to help sponsor, you know, from the community, something like this, I think that from a student's perspective, you get a lot in return.
Right, and in terms of sponsorship, that's helping the Institute of International Studies, that in turn helps provide some funding for the students to attend these events, and tying those together. Information, people are watching, Missouri Southern has a website, they can find out more?
We actually do have a website. If you go to, it's mssu.edu/international-students, you will find a domain that actually not only provides information about our International Media Seminar in Paris, but some other trips that Missouri Southern State University offers in other departments on campus. You know, trips to Sweden, trips to, you know, South America.
Right. So as we're talking about the Department of Communication, there are many departments at Missouri Southern doing these types of trips. And then do you find the students taking their experiences and utilizing them maybe in the classroom when they return?
Oh yeah, I mean, just even in the way that they communicate, I see a difference in having that eye-opening experience, in some of the ways that they take in that learned behavior, and just the knowledge of how things operate. You know, I see it in how they write. That was something that's new to me, how they write and their expression, and it's very different.
Definitely had an impact on their lives. Well, Kristen, I'd like to thank you very much for being on this part of the program. I know we have some students who are going to be joining us, and the audience will get a chance to hear from them and find out about their experiences.
Thank you very much.
And I invite you to stay tuned, because we'll be back with more right after this.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. As we talked about in the first part of the program, our international media trip to Paris involves students, of course, from Missouri Southern. And joining me, we have 3 students who are here today from the Department of Communication. Probably the first question everybody asks is, tell me a little bit about yourself. You hear that everywhere. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, and particularly your major, how this tied into your area of major.
All right. I'm Alicia Tucker, and I'm actually graduating this May. So I'm a public relations major, and how this trip helped me was it was a great networking possibility, and then I also just studying abroad and studying different culture that really will stay with me. So I would have to say networking was probably the #1 thing that it did for my degree.
I am Lindsey Gray. I'm a mass communication major here at Southern, and I just was really excited about the experience in general. #1, going abroad. I really want to do international communication, and so that just really kind of gave me an idea of what it's like in a different country. At the seminars, we met a lot of people that are in the field that I want to be in, and so meeting those people I mean, I can't get an experience like that anywhere else. And it was just really awesome in that aspect. And coming back and realizing the culture shock and the differences between countries.
The cultural appreciation as well.
Exactly.
Mentioned.
And I'm Brandon Stokes. I'm a junior mass communications major, and I really took this trip as an opportunity to find out about working abroad and working internationally, because it is kind of a different spectrum than working here in the U.S., and there are opportunities, and there are different things that you would need to know if you wanted to work internationally. Obviously, you need to speak different languages and then that sort of thing. So that kind of worked with what I'm doing with broadcast journalism.
Right, so tying into all of your areas of interest, and of course the media and public relations, when you found out about the program and this opportunity, it was a middle of the term basically when you took off from classes here at Southern and went abroad, but tell me about the preparation you went through. Kristen Livingston talked in the first part of our class preparation, but how you got prepared to actually take the trip.
Okay, well, let's see. I heard about the trip. My friend took it last year, and I really wanted to, so I talked with Rhonda Clark. She was another instructor that we went with, and she just kind of told me about it, and I was super excited, so all right, I'm going to do that next year, my final year. But as far as preparation goes, I think having the class, we met once a week, and we would kind of go over French phrases and different things to expect while we're there, the speakers, and so like what Kristen said, we kind of need to do some research on them, so we'd be prepared with questions. I'd say that's
kind of doing your homework before you even went abroad.
Yeah, and then obviously just getting excited to go to Paris, so I was Googling everything you could do in Paris and reading different travel blogs and such, so that's how I got prepared.
Imagine that whole timeline of getting closer really made a difference as you went through the semester, Lindsey.
Yeah, I was so excited for the trip. I actually got my money converted like 2 months in advance and then realized that it was cheaper to get it at the ATM there, and so if I would have just waited. But I was just so excited. I wanted some French money in my hands and
European money.
European money, exactly. And yeah, just like she said, getting excited about the trip, knowing what I need to bring, the conversion outlets
right, for
to
electricity.
buy, and just different things like that, that I would need to be prepared with when I get over there that I wouldn't be able to use. Knowing how to do international calls, getting apps and things like that, and just being prepared in general.
Brandon, I imagine that your interest in mass communication, did you find yourself paying more attention to news coming from Europe and Paris beforehand as you were getting ready to go?
Yeah, I would kind of look online on different websites and try to see what I could just online. But I know we were there in Paris, and we had a chance a couple times to tune in to the news there while we were in the hotel room, and some of it was kind of difficult because a lot of the stations were in French, but they did have some English-speaking news stations as well.
Great. Well, I know we could talk for a while, but you also have some pictures, and I'd like to share those with the audience as well. So as we go along, we'll look at some of your pictures and to kind of take us on the trip through your eyes and your cameras as you captured some of the scenes. So we have a picture here at the beginning, which they should call up for us. Tell her what we're seeing right here.
That's your picture. I'll let you.
Yeah, so this picture was actually taken on the top of the French newspaper Liberation, on the top of their building, their kind of break area, and it's looking over the city of Paris towards Sacre-Cœur, which is actually the highest point in Paris. I didn't actually have a chance to make it over there, but this was just...
So you took a tour and visited this facility?
Yes, we got to actually go to this newspaper and talk to one of their editors and find out how their news organization works.
Great. So in addition to attending meetings at the seminar, you got out into the city and had specific places to visit and talk to your peers in the profession. We have another city, looks like city scene?
Yeah, this is actually just a really cool black and white that Brandon did. It kind of looks like this everywhere to me. We've got small cars here. We've got the tall buildings, beautiful structures. Alicia took special notice in the doors.
The architecture features?
Yeah, the doors are just elaborate and very pretty. They're larger than our doors, I would say. But a lot of the times going through those doors on the streets like that would go into kind of an open area and then into the buildings. So so that was kind of neat to see.
So the door was kind of hiding a courtty for you as you went inside the building. So, noticing obviously the differences between the cities. Then you have some historical features that you were able to see as well. Tell me about what we're seeing here.
This is Notre Dame. And we went there on a day they were having mass in the morning, and we went and basically walked through the cathedral. And it's amazing, stained glass everywhere, sculptures everywhere, with beautiful details. And it was very humbling to be inside there, just the ambiance of it, lighting the candles, different things like that. It was something that I know that our instructors really appreciated, and we appreciated as well. And
just once again, the architecture and the history of that building that has been there for so long. And we have some close-ups here showing some architectural features. And
this is the Notre Dame again.
Yeah, it's a picture that I took just outside, and you really can't appreciate it. I mean, you can appreciate the photos, but you can't really appreciate the magnitude and the beauty of it until you're actually standing there looking at it with your own eyes.
Did you find yourself kind of the wow factor at times? Wow, I'm really looking at this building I've just seen in books.
Yes, yeah, I'd stop occasionally with my mouth just kind of open and gaping, and I'm just staring in awe at some of the things. I mean, it's a beautiful city, and I'm
actually here.
We've got an Arc de Triomphe picture. And this was at night. The boys ventured out at night to get some night pictures of the Louvre and the Arc de Triomphe, and I think this is one Brandon actually captured.
It is, and actually the Arc de Triomphe was the first kind of noticeable landmark that we saw when we left the airport and got into Paris. We were driving and just down the highway in our shuttle, and nothing was really there, and then all of a sudden we're like, well, wow! If we just look, if we look right in front of us, we'll actually see the Arc de Triomphe. And
and they're actually doing some work renovating it, so they had the huge eyesore on there, unfortunately.
But still, they're still there.
Yes,
and it's still, they're talking about monuments from history that are still there after all of these years and tying things together. Another scene that we have coming up, this Thinking, the Thinker.
Yeah, this is the Thinker by
Rodin, Musée de Rodin.
And that was a really neat experience to go to. We actually made it just in time before they closed the courtyard, because they close it down once the sun goes down. But so yeah, and this is two Parisians looking at it. I think Brandon got this picture again.
So as you were visiting and seeing these different locations, you had a chance to interact with the people who live there and visit with some of the people as well?
Yeah.
A little bit, but the culture in France is a little bit different. You know, here in the U.S. we're accustomed to waving at people and smiling, and over there everybody kind of just they kind of stick to themselves.
Right.
When they walk down the street, they'll kind of look down. You normally don't get a smile from people, so if we were able to interact with some people, it was kind of a rare opportunity.
Maybe when you're at a shop or a restaurant or something where you're actually doing some business.
It was even fun talking to the guys that were at the front desk at our hotel. I mean, it was the same guy every night and then the same guy every day.
Right.
And, they would ask us how we're doing and, tell us places we should go and stuff like that. And then our tour guide taught us a tremendous amount of information about what we were doing. And
was it hard to try to decide what am I going to see? Here I've got this
absolutely.
big laundry list of things I'd like to see while I'm in
I
Paris.
think we changed the plan on a daily basis, really.
Or within hours of what we're going to do that morning. We wake up and say, okay, we're going to do this, and then by 2 o'clock that afternoon, it completely changed.
Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think it even kind of changed before we even got to Paris, because we did have a couple of flight delays and a detour to London and then back to Paris. So we got there a day late, basically.
Yeah, basically a full day.
So we missed a full day, but.
So it taught you a lot about the challenges of international travel as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so
definitely.
being able to see that. And then we have a picture, it looks like the Mona Lisa. This is something that most people see, once again, in a book. When you were walking through and seeing the actual painting, what was your feeling, your reaction at that point?
Gosh.
Really crowded.
Yeah.
We see some heads there in front of
Yeah,
you.
there were so many people there.
It was a little
this is inside the
overwhelming.
Louvre, actually.
Yeah, and this is in the Louvre, and that place in general is just so huge. It has 4 different levels, and there's just like packs of tourists, including us, walking around seeing everything. But this room in particular with the Mona Lisa, I mean, I was probably how far away from it, do you think?
Oh, within a foot.
So they let you get fairly close to it up front to see it.
The one thing that's interesting, though, is the Mona Lisa, it's not as big as you would think.
Yeah.
The painting's actually quite small.
Like an 8 by 10, maybe a little bigger, but
Maybe a little bigger than an 8 by 10. But
But you're imagining this great big wall painting,
Right.
it's a lot smaller when you get there. And once again, the architecture of the facility as well.
And this is outside the Louvre where the Mona Lisa was. That big pyramid is actually the entrance. So that's the first thing we got to walk into, and there were people everywhere. And then the building behind it is, part of the museum. And there are 2 separate sections that we didn't even go to a full section of the Louvre just because of time constraints. But everything was beautiful and massive. And
there, waiting in line at the Louvre too, there was signs everywhere for pickpocketing, so we had to make sure of that. I don't think any of us ran into that
we
situation.
heard about it, but actually having a sign that says "Watch out
for what you're carrying in your pickpockets." But obviously they let you take pictures in it. You were able to take these photographs and to capture things.
Yeah, that was unusual because I've never experienced getting to take pictures in a museum. So I think that kind of added to the overwhelming that I experienced in the Louvre. We went to the Musée d'Orsay, and I liked that museum a lot better because there wasn't the pictures. You couldn't take pictures, so you could walk through there a lot easier.
Right, everybody wasn't stopping saying, let's take a picture. And of course, one of the most recognizable sights of Paris, the Eiffel Tower. Brandon, were you the one involved in taking these night pictures?
Yes, we did. We tried to get some daytime photos, and then we tried to make our rounds at night to get everything lit up as well. But really, I can't describe the Eiffel Tower to you unless you're standing next to it, like I said before, with Notre Dame, just because of how big it is.
Something so amazing about the Eiffel Tower is that it lights up every hour in the hour at night. So it twinkles. And it's really cool for like 10 minutes.
So the special lighting on the tower that people don't realize.
We actually heard that they will be closing it soon. So some people won't even have the opportunity to go up in the Eiffel Tower. And so that was a really cool experience.
So shutting it down for renovation, basically, as you hear about a lot of monuments, it's time to fix things and so forth. And we have another picture at night, a view that comes throughout.
Top of the Eiffel Tower.
So this is your view from the top?
Yes, we took a group photo from the top of the Eiffel Tower.
With your GoPro, which was really handy throughout the trip. And it was 324 meters to the top. And
A little
it was
more than
really
1,000
cold
feet.
up there. Yeah.
So you were way up above the city.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you could see the smog nicely.
The city itself, you say it has so much to see, but also it's a major metropolitan area. I mean, you have these monuments right in the middle of a major city like that for you. She mentioned the GoPro. Tell me about that aspect of capturing the pictures.
It was kind of interesting because if you know anything about a GoPro, it's a small camera, wide-angle lens, and it's very convenient. There's different, attachments. You can suction it onto a car. You can do anything. So we would walk around, and I actually had it on kind of like an extender pole, so I could get it further away from us, so we could take a group photo with it. If our instructors weren't there to kind of help us out and take some photos, and we just kind of did that kind of throughout the city and of different monuments and a little bit of video as well.
And we're only seeing snippets of these pictures that you've taken. Did all three of you come back with just tons of pictures of that?
Yeah, I almost filled up a 16 gigabyte SD card, so.
I had over 1,500, so.
And thanks to digital photography, you don't have to wait till you get home to develop the pictures. Kristen mentioned earlier in the program about blogs and so forth. Were you trying to post pictures through social media and so forth while you were on the trip?
Yeah, I definitely was. Then we kind of ran into some trouble doing that with the Wi-Fi at the hotels. Everyone would be on at the same time when we got back that night. So, of course, it was super slow, or just sometimes it wouldn't connect at all. So that was kind of the hard times. And then we had different applications. Like I downloaded a Viber application, and so I could still receive phone calls and texts if I was on Wi-Fi. Right. But to friends and family at home.
So did you find the technology, we're used to, everybody has their phone in their hand here everywhere you go, that you had to adapt to it maybe a little different there?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how many times our group got split up and I'd be like, oh, just call Kurt really quick. I'll just call Chris.
Send him a text, yeah.
And then, to think about it, if they're not connected to Wi-Fi and if you're not connected to Wi-Fi, that's going to be a really expensive call. So just not being able to have that instant access to communication. And also, for a minute there, I thought my laptop got fried because of the European outlet. It just kind of started smoking one time when I plugged it in. And so it shut off, but it came back on later, so it was fine.
So you survived that scare.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about the actual seminar itself and the sessions that you attended. I understand you heard from a lot of different speakers. Is there anyone that really stands out in your mind that, you say, wow, I actually heard from that person?
I'll go ahead and go with that one. Eileen Bastinelli was one of my favorites. She is a producer for Up Productions, and they do a lot of documentaries, mostly about really meaningful things. One was about the meeting of will.i.am and Philippe Starck, who is a French designer. And they basically wanted to come together and share their creative experiences, and they both have, really community-oriented goals within their work. will.i.am is an artist, but he also puts money towards kids' foundations and different things like that. And so just documenting this meeting, telling us about what her experiences was doing that, difficulties and struggles, and also the really fun parts too. And just hearing about something like that, which I would really be interested in after school. And so hearing from a professional is it really gives you a different idea of how your view of of the work field that you're trying to, that you're striving to get in could be, and especially in a different country. I mean, she does this in France,
and so she kind of inspired you, created some opportunities that you may not have thought about before going on the trip.
Yes.
Well, when you return, I know you've had a chance to share not only among everyone in the class that went on the trip, but others on campus and the community and so forth. What stands out most in your mind as far as how this benefits you? And Brandon, I'm going to toss this to you first. As far as what did you gain the most from this trip? Being able to study abroad like this.
Really, I know that Chris was talking a lot earlier, and we've talked a lot as well. But it's really the culture, because it really is different than here in the United States. And I think that's what kind of stood out to me, and that I gained the most of it, was experiencing a culture other than our own, kind of immersing ourselves into something that was different and trying to adapt to it. I know that before the trip, we were all talking about what we were going to wear in Paris. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to wear jeans and t-shirts while we're there. I want to dress nice and kind of try to fit in as a Parisian, the way they dress, and they dress up very nice every single day. So I think that was one thing that I really tried to focus on while I was there.
But you are definitely in a different country, a different culture, adapting to that, and so forth. And you're getting ready to graduate, as you mentioned. How does this help you as far as you step out the door of your college experience going on to future job goals?
I think whenever you are in a different culture, you appreciate different things that we have to offer as Americans, but then it makes you just a little bit more open-minded to things and adapting to change. And so I'm definitely going to have to change within these next 2 weeks before graduation into kind of the real workforce. And so just kind of going into, I guess, a different culture besides just school culture, taking that aspect of it and applying it to wherever my life may take me now.
And we've heard so much about globalization. Does this really help bring globalization home for you?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely, especially with public relations and just, I mean, networking really. That was, like I said in the beginning, that's the kind of what I've taken from the whole trip, and it's going to help me with finding a job and that kind of stuff. So.
And both of you still have some schooling left, and you feel that this is going to help inspire you to continue to gain those additional experiences on campus as well. I know you do.
And there are a ton of international study programs here, and so still having time left here at Missouri Southern, I'm probably going to take them up on some of those opportunities as well. Traveling is definitely one of my interests, and being able to go with a group that has a structured program to allow you to take advantage of all of the opportunities you have abroad is really a priceless experience. So doing that with Missouri Southern was an amazing opportunity.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank the three of you for visiting with us and our audience for tuning in today as we found out about the Paris International Media Program. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.